Hello and welcome to our daily news program coming to you from Canal, Algérie. Let's start off with your headlines for today. The President of the Republic received a phone call from his Iranian counterpart during which they exchanged wishes on the occasion of Ramadan and reviewed the situation in Palestine. In its editorial, Al-Jaish magazine puts forward the national service and its noble objectives, as well as the capacity of the Algerian youth in facing the different challenges. A collective iftar is held by the Paris Grand Mosque, bringing together French MPs of an Algerian origin to share cozy moments with our community and inquire about its concerns. And the harsh living conditions and normalization with the Zionist entity keeps pushing people to take to the street in Morocco to voice their anger and fed up. Good evening and welcome back. Those were today's headlines. We start off our news with the President of the Republic, who received on Sunday a phone call from the President of the Islamic Republic of Iran, Ibrahim Raisi, who congratulated him and the Algerian people on the occasion of the blessed month of Ramadan. And for his part, the President of the Republic congratulated him as well and the Iranian people on the occasion of this blessed month. The two presidents reviewed the bilateral relations and agreed to consolidate them for the high interest of the two peoples. The two heads of state also discussed the situation in occupied Palestine, the violations and aggressions, notably in the West Bank and Al-Quds, the desecration it suffers, and the provocation towards more than 1.5 billion Muslims during the blessed month of Ramadan. The two presidents then agreed to exchange a visit in the future. In a different story, a project of building 2,400 public rental houses in Wergla was launched on Sunday. Located in the neighborhood of Bemendil, this investment will cost 7.7 billion dinars. It is the biggest project of its kind in the province, which usually benefits from rural housing assistance. The Minister of Housing inquired about the status of the construction project of 4,500 social housing units and announced a financial support for this housing formula, which will be generalized across the national territory. In its latest editorial, Al-Jaish magazine put forward the national service, which, and with its noble objectives, remains a school since its creation. It allowed millions of Algerian youngsters to participate in the construction of the country and to be up to the level of defending the country in case of need. Story by Ines Gilo.
In this new edition of Al-Jaish magazine, the editorial is entitled National Service, Source of Inspiration for Generations. Recalling the nation's bet on youth when the law of national service was promulgated 55 years ago, as the President of the Republic, Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, Minister of National Defense, emphasized on the occasion of the 60th anniversary of Victory Day. I renew our determination to build a strong Algeria by taking into account the value of efforts and work and consolidating the foundations of its national security, which we have achieved together and which is the fruit of our attachment to the unity of our ranks and the combined efforts. The editorial also refers to the message of the Army General Said Shingriha, Chief of Staff of the National People's Army, addressed to the executives and members of the People's National Army. I am deeply convinced that each generation has its own battle, and that of our fathers and grandfathers was to free and liberate our land from the colonial yoke, and that of our brothers was to face up to barbaric terrorism. Then yours, the youth of the People's National Army, and the youth of the whole Algeria, is to preserve the independence of the nation and its sovereignty, which is a pure struggle of consciousness. They added that the process of building the new Algeria is being carried out with the contribution of its daughters and sons, who remain faithful to their orientations just like their ancestors. It is important to arm oneself with awareness, knowledge and hard work while working to bring together all available capacities to close ranks in order to win this battle. Only in this way you can live up to the trust of our people and to requirements needed to preserve the legacy of the shuhadas of our glorious liberation revolution and that of the martyrs of the national duty.
In a different context, 100 learners of the Holy Quran were honored by the Zawiya Tijaniya of Ain Madi in Ghawat province during a ceremony organized under the aegis of the Brotherhood's General Caliph Sheikh Sidali Bilarabi. The event was marked by the presence of distinguished guests. Najah Tahir tells us more.
At Sidi Abdel Jabbar Tijani Mosque, the headquarters of the General Caliphate head in the Tariqa Tijaniya or the Brotherhood in Ain Madi in Ghawat province, the Tariqa scholars and followers from Algeria and other Arab and African countries met during a Ramadan evening. On this occasion, the Tijaniya Quran School has honored a huge number of female students for completing the Holy Quran. We received our Quran completion certificate. I am very proud of myself. I managed to memorize the Quran. I finished memorizing the Quran. I am very happy. I would like to dedicate this success to my parents and my teacher. Moreover, scholars and teachers from Arab and African countries were honored for the religious lessons organized during this blessed month of Ramadan in various mosques of Ghawat. We thank the Tariqa Tijaniya Caliph General as well as the Algerian government and the President of the Republic for this program. Our wish is that the program is to be extended in order to rank the Muslim ranks. On my behalf and on behalf of my entire delegation, I thank the Tariqa Caliph General and the President of the Republic. Thank God for being here and for receiving this distinction that reflects the interest granted by the highest authorities to the religious education in general and to the Tariqa Tijaniya. And in the presence of the Caliph General of the Tariqa Tijaniya, Sheikh Muhammad Ali Bilarabi Tijani, and the authorities of Ghawat province, the Emir of Kano in Nigeria, Amino Abu Bayero, who came on an exceptional visit to the General Caliphate headquarters, was honored. It is for a special occasion that I am here at the Tariqa Tijaniya General Caliphate headquarters in Ain Madi. I am very happy for this distinction and for being received and honored by the Algerians. May God accompany and bless us and the Zawiya Tijaniya, and we thank all who have accepted our invitation and accompanied us in this Ramadan month. This celebration that coincides with Ghazwat Badr, a debate about this battle took place, mentioning that it is the first, greatest and most decisive battle led by the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, in which many lessons were given to the first Muslims.
In another iftar evening organized at the Grand Mosque of Paris, French elected officials of Algerian origins were invited to share a convivial moment and to discuss as well the concerns of their community. Reported by Afaf Belhushat, taken up by Najah Tayar.
It is the fourth collective iftar at the Grand Mosque of Paris in a brotherly, joyful atmosphere that gathered the French with Algerian origin for the objective of reviewing the role that can be played in order to strengthen the relationship between the two countries. When this mosque was founded, it was meant to recognize the numerous sacrifices paid by Muslims in the First World War. Therefore, the extremely strong symbolism and the involvement of French and Algerians to ensure better relations of the two countries is the goal of this evening. I believe that this community today is strongly intended to consolidate the links between the two countries, to allow relations develop in many fields such as economy and culture. Also, since the Olympic Games are coming soon, we can organize to meet the sport teams. These exchanges will have good results for both sides. The French people with Algerian origins are proud to be a part of this organization, even though they grew up in France where they have responsibilities. We do not forget our origins. It's our parents' country and our culture. It is very important for us to strengthen the bonds between the two countries. We have observed the will of the two countries to renew contact with this diaspora and engage in building more links with each other. This is quite visible through both the French president and the Algerian president's speeches, in which they have mentioned several times the major role of the diaspora in the development of these two countries' relations. These iftar evenings have showed the real image of Islam and the deep bonds linking the two countries of the Mediterranean shore.
During the weekly forum of the Algerian radio, representatives of the Palestinian factions stressed the necessity to speed up implementing the Algiers Declaration so as to close Palestinian ranks and face the ongoing Zionist escalation in the occupied territories, notably over the past few weeks. And the election of members of the Sahrawi National Council was launched across the different Sahrawi institutions. This council will be entrusted with defending the Sahrawi cause before the international institutions to regain sovereignty and snatch independence. Melissa Kubash with the details.
An atmosphere of hope prevailed during the election of members of the National Sahrawi Council, another step to implement democracy and another symbol representing the Sahrawi Republic at the international scene. It's a very important step for the Sahrawi people. This election is considered as a real challenge for us that we must face.
We've chosen our parliament representatives in a very democratic climate.
We've carried out our duty and chosen our representatives who will defend our cause. These elections, which enshrine the constitutional principles of the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic, were held in the different provinces and institutions of the Sahrawi Republic. We've mobilized everything for the success and smooth running of the elections. We're hoping for transparent and democratic elections. All Sahrawis have the right to vote. The elections are another crucial step in the Sahrawi people's fight for their right to self-determination. It also reflects their ongoing determination to recover sovereignty over their territories.
And to this day, the Moroccan people are still taking to the streets to denounce their precarious living conditions, while the Moroccan government is totally absent, turning a blind eye to its people's legitimate demands. Ines Kilo reports.
A country facing an unprecedented social crisis that has seen the streets taken over by demonstrators for a month. Moroccans, plunged into complete chaos and extreme poverty, are going through the worst crisis in their history. The rise of prices has affected all products without exception, which has driven most Moroccans into misery. Pushed to the limit, Moroccans have once again taken to the streets in Casablanca, Rabat and Marrakesh in another attempt to make the regime react. We are trying to survive in a country that faces a galloping increase in prices of all products, and we are demonstrating to demand our rights. Morocco is now going through a very miserable phase because of the Mahsen's government. Moroccans point the finger at the government's mismanagement, accusing the latter of being the root of such situation.
يبدو أن الحكومة ما كتاخذش بعين الاعتبار هذا الغلاء.
Despite the disastrous economic situation, the government remains deaf and absent.
الأوضاع الاجتماعية وصلت لواحد المستوى عالي القابل.
Morocco is passing through a critical crisis that has driven citizens into misery, and all that because all of the ill running of the government.
حكومة ودولة كتحمل فيها المسؤولية.
According to the High Commission of Fuel, the inflation rate reached 9.4% in the first quarter of 2023, compared to 4% in the same period last year. Inflation worsened by soaring prices in the blessed month of Ramadan. Because of this multi-sectorial crisis, several organizations and unions have called for street actions during the month of April to denounce the policy of deaf ears adopted by the Mahsen towards its people.
Still in Morocco, where the streets are once again packed, but this time in support of the Palestinian cause and people who are suffering from the violent practices and crimes carried out by the Zionist occupier. The demonstrations are calling on the Moroccan government to cut ties with the Zionist entity and to close its office in Rabat. More details with Mini Sakovash.
Citizens and activists of the Palestinian cause all gathered in front of the Moroccan parliament to demonstrate against the violent attacks of the Zionist occupier on the Al-Aqsa Mosque in the occupied Al-Quds, calling on the authorities to cut the ties with the Zionist entity and close its office in Rabat. These crimes against humanity must be condemned. These war crimes perpetrated against the Palestinian people. The Moroccan regime must also be denounced since it stands a partner in these crimes. We support the Palestinian people. You are responsible for the repression carried out in Al-Aqsa Mosque. The Palestinian flag was risen among demonstrators with slogans condemning the crimes of the occupier, such as the continuation of the fight to criminalize normalization of relations with the Zionist entity. Palestine is neither for sale and nor for the normalization with the Zionist entity. This demonstration is to show our support for the Palestinian people, especially during the violent practices carried out against them by the Zionist entity.
عضو السكرتارية الوطنية للجبهة المغربية لدعم فلسطين وضد تطبيع.
For his part, the human rights activist Abdel Ilah bin Abd Salam indicated that this demonstration staged in front of the Moroccan parliament aimed at denouncing the aggressions carried out against peaceful worshippers in Al-Aqsa, calling on Morocco to put an end to its relations with the Zionist entity and any form of trade with it, as well as closing its office in Rabat. All crimes and violent practices against Palestinians and violating their rights must be condemned by the international community and sued by the International Criminal Court, as indicated in a communique released by the Moroccan Front in support of Palestine.
And with that, our today's news edition comes to an end. Thank you for watching us and goodbye.